Yes, so the crickets that you just heard is basically metaphorically what I heard when I opened this video for editing. How fun! So, welcome to episode 1 of Astroneer. I did actually record audio with the video, or at least I thought I did, but apparently I failed to do that. So, for the launching episode of this series, of this Let's Play, you're actually going to have to hear me try to explain what I was doing in a voice-over type fashion, and I apologize for that. Also, you might hear my birds in the background. If you're new to the channel, they sometimes get obnoxious. If random loud screams and chirping in the background is not your thing, this might not be the video for you. But I do appreciate everyone stopping by, especially those of you who don't mind that and stick with me for this video. So, at the introduction of this video, I was actually just talking about how exciting it was. If you watched episode 0, that was where I attempted to try out the tutorial and failed miserably, dying and not understanding how anything works and not paying attention to anything right in front of me because I was just too nervous doing the video in the first place. You will see a degree more of that through here. Right now I'm just going through some customization menus, checking that out. That's something that I saw and noticed in some of the Let's Plays that I watched after I basically failed the tutorial miserably. If you do want to check that out, that is live on my channel. Just be nice when you make fun of me. Be nice. I expect being made fun of, but yeah, I'm very new to this. And that's going to be incredibly evident. So going through all of the customization options, it appears like a lot of those you have to pay money for. After you've paid for the game, I don't really care too much to do that, honestly. But the currency for those is called qubits, and some of the customization options were pretty neat. Some were a little bit too busy for my taste. So what we're doing here is starting a brand new adventure game. I think before I actually do that, though... Oh no, I already... sorry about that. Trying to keep up with the me in the actual game. Yeah. Oh no, I hadn't done that already. Okay, so yeah, so I started to customize the character. I saw a lot of the other Let's Players that I watched have different like customizations for their characters, and I was just trying to figure out how to do that. So I'm just going through some of the different options and checking them out. There's not very much that you get at the beginning of the game. A lot of those are locked that you have to unlock later. There's one in particular, that one right there, that I just clicked on, actually. I love that one. I can't wait to unlock that one. I hope I do. Some of the early ones is just like the color of the accents of the astronaut suit. I think I went with the orange one. There for a minute I couldn't decide between the two of them because I liked both of them, but I think I went with the orange one because it just reminds me of a real-life astronaut. I thought I was done at first, but then I jumped back in there and pick a mask because I didn't realize there were other customization options below that I didn't scroll down into. And I go with the mirror because of how reflective it is. It looks really nice. I love that one. And if somebody can tell me what on earth those emotes are, that would be great, because I was going through there, checking them out. It just looks like different groups of animations for your character. I don't know why they have you select a set. or if you even have to select a set, or if it's just showing you what your character looks like in different animations. Anyone who knows the answer to that, feel free to leave a comment below and let me know. So here we are starting off on our home planet. As a first-time player, I really didn't understand how to land the ship. I didn't realize fully what control I even had over the ship. So we pretty much just dropped down wherever it started to take me. I didn't really get to scope out the landscape on my way in and pick a strategic spot. And I knew very little about the game anyway, but I had watched enough Let's Plays to know kind of what I wanted to look for on the ground, but I wasn't able to do that. So we got started here, and I was just trying to get my bearings and figure out what I was doing and interact with stuff and figure out where the oxygen console was that I saw other Let's Players putting into that little slot there in the base. I didn't understand that. So, yeah, you had to actually examine that thing, and then it gives you the boxes that you can unpack. So you'll see me there just kind of playing with that, trying to figure those out. I think some of the Let's Plays that I watched were actually older Let's Plays, so some of the stuff didn't exist in the game in the way that you see it here, so it kind of threw me off a little bit. And I'll go ahead and actually share some of the YouTubers' channel links down below in the description if I remember to do that, as a huge shout out and thank you for a few tips that kind of helped me get started in this game. Without some of that, I would have been completely stranded, because when you actually open up the game itself, it doesn't really give you too many tips. You almost have to play the tutorial to begin to understand what you're doing. And if you watched my failed tutorial episode, I got frustrated and quit before I completely finished the tutorial, and I just kind of wanted to jump into the actual gameplay. So here I am, just trying to find a spot that I liked to build that table there that I could begin to put some things on. And I remembered from other Let's Plays that power apparently in this game is king. So I was just trying to figure out how on earth I connect it, because I'd watched so many of them connect it, but I didn't remember what they did to do that, because they just played this game so innately that it was second nature to them, and in the midst of playing just didn't have a chance to jump back to those videos and figure out what it was that they did. So I was there just kind of taking a little bit of a peek around to try to gauge what resources that I had or might need. Got a little tiny bit distracted because of the game and how pretty it is. Even though it's like a low poly game, it's absolutely beautiful. And I love the details that they put into this game, even as simple as they are. I love the details. You can see the planets rotating and moving in the sky in the background. It's so amazing. I love this game. I don't know how to play it, and I'm very terrible at it, but I love this game. So I can't remember exactly what I was doing here. I was just trying to figure out what that does, I think. And then I accidentally reset it after I'd unfolded the table and everything the way that I wanted to. I didn't actually mean to do that. I was just hitting buttons and testing things, and there I am having to redo everything again. But that's the nature of being a total noob. You can make fun of me, I don't care. Yeah. It's probably actually a good thing, honestly, that I have to record a voiceover, because when I initially recorded these episodes, I was just having a bad day. And it didn't carry over, I don't think, in the audio. Obviously, I didn't get a chance to listen back to it, but I wasn't as talkative, and I was really shy and quiet in between a lot of this, trying to figure out what I was doing. Just didn't really know what to say, I guess. And there I am, just trying to figure out how to use the printer, and decided to gather some of the stuff that was actually next to the base to see if I can figure out what I'm doing, or remember what I'm doing, essentially. This episode was a little bit embarrassing for me too, recording it, because it's like I walked into this with test anxiety or something, knowing that people are going to watch this, and just completely... Yep, sorry guys, so my audio cut out again right there, and that's why we completely cut to this. I was talking about test anxiety. It's almost like whenever I'm recording Let's Plays, especially being the first time that I'm doing this, it's like you're being put on the spot and being tested. So I try so hard to play the game, but in trying so hard to do it correctly or to do it well, I actually miss a lot because of the anxiety, but that's anxiety for you. So that's more or less what I was explaining there. And I am just recording the voiceover. Again, we're having all sorts of issues, apparently. But trying to recap and remember what on earth I said over this. Yeah, so I'm just spinning around, trying to figure out where I'm at, what's around me. And I finally noticed the compound over there, and I knew that that was a key resource early game from some of the Let's Plays that I watched. And from a little bit from the tutorial that I failed miserably at. So I'm trying to gather up as much of that as I can, because that was the only pile that I saw of that anywhere around. Plus, just digging that stuff out is so satisfying. It's so fun. And apparently past me just realized that the recording stopped, so I'll zip it back to her. Yeah, so anyway, just trying to gather some of that material there, because it's one of the key materials at the start of the game. But anyway, I just noticed as I'm recording this, I'm trying to record it on my phone, and apparently when my phone screen dims, it stops recording, so there is a portion of the recording that I just recorded once again that I cannot use, and I'm going to have to record over. And I don't know what part that is at the moment, so I'll have to go back again after I import this and figure that out and figure out what all you guys are missing. If I can even remember what on earth I said. And I'm going to have to watch the phone pretty carefully. I do apologize for all of this. I seem discoordinated or not very prepared for all of this, but as I've repeated dozens of times, I'm very new to this, and I'm still getting everything set up. I don't have the proper equipment, and I did have a good microphone, or at least a half-decent microphone, that somebody let me borrow for a while to do some of the pre-recordings and videos that I have already recorded and have yet to upload some of them, like the flash tours for The Sims and all that. I had that on loan, and that's been returned. So and I did order one for myself, and it did get shipped and come in. But the background of that one, it was like whenever you tried to record with it, you could hear nothing but a constant high-pitched hum is the only way I know to describe that. And it was just really hard to listen to playback of that. And I had to ship that back. So I'm still waiting to find a good one and get that ordered and shipped so that I can do this more properly, I guess. But for now, I'm relying on my phone for any videos that I record here or after. I did record a second episode immediately after this, and I checked the video whenever I noticed that the audio was not included on this one. And it appears at least to have worked. I don't know if it worked for the entire video or not until I go through to edit that one. So that will be with the other one. So hopefully it'll be a little bit more organized than this nonsense, I suppose. But anyway, I was walking up to the salvageable scrap up here, but I had no idea how on earth you salvage it. I thought you could salvage it from there, or that you had to click something or do something to it to bring it back, and I just couldn't figure it out. So I brought the research back to the base, and brought the research back to the base, and then went back to try to figure all of that out, and just couldn't seem to figure it out. I do figure it out later on in the video, so don't get too mad about it. I do figure it out. I didn't realize that you had to dig those things out and drag them back. So I'm just grabbing some of the resources and stuff that I found on it and just kind of mentally memorizing where those were so that I could come back and get them. So that compound that you saw me collecting earlier, that was the only resource pile of that I could find, and I dug it out as much as I could. So I didn't have enough of that to build anything in the 3D printer hardly, or to build enough tethers to really go a decent distance. And if you did watch episode 0, you'll know the anxiety that I have with the tethers, because you go away from them for even just the tiniest period of time in the tutorial, you're like almost instantly dead. There's no time. You actually have a little bit more time that you can be untethered in this game than you could in the tutorial. So I'm relieved about that. But I am always going to have a little bit of, I guess, hilarious anxiety with those tethers. Okay, so I brought back a bunch of the resources that I'd gathered, and I've just been, since I have no place to store them, dumping them all over the base area. So there I am printing. I think that was the research. I think it was the research chamber or something. And I didn't realize how long that it took to do that. So I am assuming, being a noob that doesn't know what she's doing, that I probably need some kind of power hookup to add to that to speed that along. Or no, maybe I wasn't actually printing it. Maybe that was just the hologram. Yeah, that's not the one that I printed. That was just me exploring the menu, I suppose, trying to figure out what I can print. And then I loaded the ingredients for the research chamber and printed that. Yeah. So that took a lot longer than I thought it would to print. I might cut a little bit of this out, honestly, because I was just sitting there thinking, oh, this is going to be done in just a few seconds, and yay, I can experience whatever that does. But I was totally wrong. I think eventually I just walked back off to explore more beyond the tether and bring back resources and all that. So look at the reflection in the helmet. I've seen it plenty of times in this game already, and it still never ceases to amaze me. Just a simple reflection in a game. It's a low poly game, but it's just, I love this game, and I don't even know what I'm doing in it, so. Just I guess a little fact about how I obtained this game. I actually bought this during the Steam sale over Thanksgiving in the United States. So I bought this, The Outer Worlds, and some futuristic looking city builder called Avon Colony. I don't know if you guys have heard of any of those. I might show off some of that stuff in on the channel here eventually. I don't want to overwhelm myself with too many different things and too many different Let's Plays going on all at once, especially not at the beginning. Most of this is just me just trying to learn streaming and YouTube and get everything figured out and get a system down. Get a system down before I completely overwhelm myself from the start. I do have a full-time job outside of this, so my upload schedule and availability to record and edit videos is not ideal, I should say. Alright, so that finally printed, so I was trying to figure out where on earth I could put that. I knew it had to be, or suspected it had to be on a table and connected to power, and I didn't have another table printed. So I know I print one for it, and I think I went with the large table A. And a lot of the Let's Players that I had been watching on YouTube recommended the large table B or something B. But I simply didn't have that unlocked, and I didn't have a lot of resources close by to go ahead and make that, so I just made the A. And I had unpacked it and just trying to move it out of the way. I think, yeah, right there I was trying to see if throwing it on that thing would do anything. I actually think now, in retrospect, looking back over those videos, it looks like a solar panel type thing, but I was never able to figure out how on earth to hook that up to the base. And I still haven't at the time of recording this, even through the second episode, so I apologize for that. But if one of y'all know how to do that and feel like letting me know in the comments, that would be amazing. Otherwise, I'm going to have to look that up before I start Let's Play 3. Because, yeah, I think that's what the slowdown is from, potentially. Alright. So I loaded a research into that, but obviously it's not hooked up to power, so it's not doing me any good. Pretty sure that at some point in this video there's probably a bunch of the compound that I was completely missing off in the distance. Feel free to yell at me in the comments below. But yeah, so I think at that point I was just gathering what resources I did have around me to sort of stockpile and essentially hope that the save wasn't lost. Because I really thought there for a while I'd have to just start everything over again and figure out how to land in a better spot. But this spot's actually not as terrible as I thought it was, to be honest. This game's pretty forgiving. At least so far. I could be completely wrong about that. So, I stopped for a second to admire that planet just floating through the night sky there. Absolutely beautiful. I can't get over how pretty this game is. And I'm probably going to annoy you saying that so much, but I really believe that this is an incredibly beautiful game. The closest game that I have played to this is No Man's Sky. And there's a lot of things that are different about this compared to No Man's Sky. Like tethers. In No Man's Sky, you don't have to worry about tethers. You have to worry a little bit about the environment and what sort of atmosphere that you're in. But you don't have to worry about not having enough oxygen. If you're close enough to your ship, you can just jump back in and you can walk a decent distance compared to this game. But I don't really mind the tethers. There's a benefit to them, actually, because you walk off in some random distance and maybe you forget that you found something that you couldn't carry back with you. And the bonus is the tethers can walk you directly back to where you were, so you can kind of plan out your paths and remember where you've where you've been and where you want to go. That's a pretty neat thing. So this solar panel looking sphere there in the middle, circle thing, I had decided at that point that it would make a better dump for a lot of my resources than just having them in the way on the ground near the base. I thought maybe if I at least put them up there, since I don't know what I'm doing with that thing, that it would at least serve as a plate or a table of some sort for that stuff. And I noticed some more scrap up on the mountain there. And I got excited about it because those looked like tethers. And I thought maybe I could actually place it and use it. So that's me just trying to see if I can connect it to the tether, and it wasn't working. And then I realized it was maybe scrap or something, so I threw that back to the base and went and grabbed the rest. This is the moment for me that it finally clicked that you have to dig out the debris and scraps, because I'm trying to pick that one up and I couldn't. So I dig in around it and then I'm able to move it, and I'm like, oh wow, eureka! So I just kind of throw that back to the base. And then I'll dig out the larger stuff. By the way, I know some of you veteran players who happen to be stumbling upon this and still with me miraculously, you might notice that I could have just piled everything together and made like a debris compound out of that. I didn't know that, obviously. I did kind of figure that out later. I don't know if that was in this episode or the next one, but I did figure that out. So you don't have to slam me in the comments over that one. You just have to suffer watching me do this one item at a time. There was wind, and I was just rotating around, again, admiring the absolute beauty of this game. I apologize. I can't help it. I'm a sucker for beauty. I can't help it. It's such a pretty game. One thing about this base location, all those trees, that little forest back there in the background, it has a lot of those research things. So that's going to be great whenever I actually get those researched. But for right now, I'm just kind of stockpiling them because the research goes very, very slowly. And I'm not even sure that I had the table yet at that point and had started it. That might even be in the second episode, to be honest. Yeah, so that was just a little bit of maintenance of stuff there. And I hovered over that. I think this might be where I realized, actually, that you can stock scrap together, maybe? Maybe not. I don't know. Perhaps. Yes. I finally figured it out, y'all, and it was even this episode, too, so you don't have to wait for the next one. Although, in the next one, unless I decide to record over it anyway, you're actually going to be hearing from me in the past, and I want to go ahead and warn you guys now if you do click onto that one. And the headspace that I was in, I was kind of having a bad day and trying not to show it. A lot of times there's just long gaps where I didn't say anything and just played. I had a hard time coming up with things to say, I suppose. I get like that when I'm in those moods. It was not an ideal day to record, especially the first episodes of this. So, I don't know if it's at this point or not, but at some point I start to pick up the tethers, because there wasn't very much else this direction, and it was easy enough of a location to remember anyway. I needed to pick up tethers that I'd previously placed to go off in a different direction altogether to see what I could find somewhere else, if I could find the resources that I actually needed. So, this is funny. I was wondering if these two pieces would actually stack on each other and I could carry them both back at once. So that's kind of what you saw there. And obviously you couldn't, so one at a time, I dragged those back to the base. Yeah, so this was a really pretty scene. I know, I have tired out how pretty this game is, but this specific area right here caught my eye, and I had to stop and take a screenshot there. But yeah, so I had gone into a different direction to see what on earth I could find in the forest, since the forest was so dense that you could barely kind of see what resources might be on the ground. And I hilariously dug myself into a pit here that I don't know if I actually kept recording at that point. It's like, what's interesting about watching me dig myself out? Oh no, I did record apparently. Okay. So, yeah, I fell in that pit a lot, to be honest. You might not necessarily see all of that because I did pause the recording from time to time to just jump from one place to another, because I felt like the Let's Play was getting kind of long and I hadn't gotten very far with the game yet. I keep filling up on resources and I have to keep going back and dumping it to the base. And those research things they keep getting in my way because I don't have the tables with the whatever the item thing is called that you can print and make that you store all of these things on. God, I need that so much. So much. Spoiler alert, I still don't have it in the second episode, but the second episode I think is actually a lot shorter than this one because it was getting late when I recorded these all in the same day. So, yeah. That's just where we're at with that. Oh, and those pods require some sort of resource to go in them. Maybe it's the organic compound that I couldn't hardly find anything for. I have not tried to put anything in that. I saw, I think, I forget which Let's Player it was, but somebody like hooked some sort of power source or something up to it. I don't know how to open that. Let me know in the comments below. But that's actually it for this Let's Play, guys. I hope that I didn't bore you. If you're still here, kudos to you. You're awesome. If you liked this video, please give me a thumbs up and subscribe below for more because I plan to continue this series. Maybe do a little bit of No Man's Sky and some other things on the channel. If you're into this game, you may not be into The Sims 4 or the Sims franchise. If that may not be your cup of tea. I know that they're typically two different audiences, but that's another game that I love. And if that's something that appeals to you, you should definitely subscribe because there'll be a lot of that content on this channel as well. Until next time, I will see you all in episode 2. Thanks for watching. Bye.